Hello and welcome back to some videos around speech therapy and kind of the relation between full mouth dental implants and speech. So I'm Allegra and I did a few videos before around speech and full mouth dental implants and kind of some theory behind it. And in the next few videos I will talk a little bit about how we can practice our speech to help get our brain back to using our speech sounds after having surgery. So unfortunately in the speech therapy world there hasn't really been any specific research done or studies on the impact of full mouth dental implants on speech. However, more of the studies have been done by kind of the dentist world and the impact on chewing, biomechanics. So that kind of research there's so much out there, but actual speech therapy research, there hasn't been much on it. However, in speech therapy, we know that we use motor learning to produce speech sounds and to actually learn speech sounds from when we are children. So we can apply this kind of information that we know to your speech after full mouth dental implants. So motor learning for speech is basically your brain repeating movements so many times that it becomes a habit and you just naturally produce those speech sounds. So with children, when they are young, they start to develop speech sounds at different ages. So for example, certain speech sounds will be developed at certain ages. So because their mouth and muscles and everything around there is getting used to making that speech sound, sometimes it needs lots of repetition for them to be able to make that speech sound. And then when they have it, then they've got it. And we can apply that to your situation after having surgery. So motor learning basically just means lots of repetition until your muscles, mouth, bones recalibrate to be able to make those speech sounds. So we know that lots of slow and deliberate practice contributes to motor learning, and for you to be able to recalibrate and get your muscles and mouth and everything to basically relearn those speech sounds, we need lots of slow deliberate practice and targeted practice, and we also need to be able to hear and feel our sensory feedback. So for example, when you make the sound, you can feel the airflow coming through that gap, and you can also hear yourself as well. And when we say targeted practice, we mean specific practice of those specific sounds. So for example, if you are struggling with the sound f, then we need to do lots of practice just around that sound until your brain and muscles and mouth has basically got that sound again. So it's better to do short bursts of practice, maybe 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, every day, to be able to build back up and get your muscles to remember those sounds and learn them again. It's better to do short and quick bursts that are very regular than long and intensive practices, because it can get really difficult, you can exhaust your muscles, and it can also be a bit demotivating if you're sat there for half an hour trying to produce one sound. It can be a bit much. So we recommend short and quick bursts that are very regular, and that helps us build up to those sounds in a more efficient way. When we're making those sounds, especially the fricative sounds, which can be a bit more difficult to make after surgery, we can think about the placement of our tongue, our teeth, our lips when we're making those sounds. So for example, making the sound, you want your top teeth to be on your bottom lip, and you want the airflow to be able to naturally come through the gap that is made by your teeth. So you should be able to feel the air coming out, and if not, maybe try to kind of relax your teeth on your lip a little bit, just so that that airflow can come out. You might be kind of pressing a little bit too hard, which can stop the air being able to flow out. When you are making the sound your tongue wants to be in a shape kind of like this, and you also want to be able to hear and feel the airflow, and it really helps just placing your hand here to get that sensory feedback and feel that air flowing through. Another one can be shh. So again, shh, you can feel the airflow, shh, and your tongue is also kind of in this shape again and a little bit further back than when you're making the s sound. With the s sound, your tongue is very close to the back of your teeth, and with shh, it's definitely further back. So just have a think about that, and if you're struggling with those sounds, just have a think about where your tongue is and your teeth are, because that can help as well. So something that can be really good to do is record yourself talking, maybe like a 5-minute conversation or just a few minutes, and then you can listen to that back. And sometimes you kind of like helps you to hear yourself when you're not actually speaking, and you can understand how you're making those sounds, and maybe if you need to make any changes or practice specific sounds a little bit more. So when we're working with children, we do lots of kind of memory games to get them to finally achieve those sounds and make it a little bit fun for them. So for example, if we could do a memory game, every time they turn one of the cards over, they need to say that word 10 times before they can move on. So it's just like kind of incorporating those specific repetitions as much as possible. So you could do that, have a look, make it a bit fun, have a little card game or something, and each card that you choose will, for example, begin with a sound. So you can just make it a little bit fun with somebody at home. When starting to practice those sounds, first of all, start with just those sounds on their own. So for example, the sound, you can try to repeat that maybe 20 times. Once you've achieved that sound, then we can move up to putting it into a short word. So just like 1-syllable word, for example, fun. So because our brain has kind of like achieved that first sound, then we can start to build up. So the next step would be, for example, fun or fat. So we're putting that into a really short word, and it's easier obviously to go from making the sound on its own into a short word than going straight away into putting it into a full sentence or a conversation. So start with that sound on its own, then build up to doing it into a short word, like 1-syllable word, fun, fat, and try to repeat that word like 20 times, 30 times in the morning, in the evening, the short words. Once you've achieved that, try to put the sound into a 2-syllable word. So for example, funny. And then once we've achieved that and done lots of repetitions of that, then we can build up into putting it into a short sentence. So for example, he is funny. Then obviously after you've achieved those short sentences, then we can build up into paragraphs. You could even ask maybe like ChatGPT to create a number of sentences containing words that have if that's the sound you're struggling with, or sh or s. And then we can put them into paragraphs. So you could even ask ChatGPT, can you give me a paragraph that contains 15 words that all have the f sound? And you can do that for the different sounds that you're struggling with as well. I'm just using those sounds as an example because usually they're a little bit more difficult and they involve our teeth a little bit more. And yeah, and then once you've got to those stages, it'd be good to kind of record yourself, listen back, have conversations with other people, and yeah, you'll get there. Just have patience. It takes lots of time. It can take months for our muscles and our lips, everything to recalibrate, to remember how to make those sounds. As we said, that's called motor learning. So we just need lots of direct repetition, short bursts of repetition, and just building up those steps and building up the difficulty when you can.